You ever seen a cactus? Like, the kind that looks like a weird, spiky robot from a sci-fi movie? Yeah, those are the ones that can survive in the desert with zero water and still be basically a walking water ball. But here's the thing. Those spines aren't just for looking tough. They're actually part of the cactus's survival plan. Like, the spines are basically the cactus's version of a water storage system. So, imagine if your skin was made of a bunch of tiny spikes that could trap moisture. That's basically what a cactus does. It's like a walking water trap with a side of attitude. But here's the real kicker. Those spines aren't just for storing water. They're also for keeping the cactus cool and protecting it from animals that might try to eat it. So it's like a multitasking superhero with spines. So yeah, if you ever see a cactus in the desert, don't just think it's a weird, spiky plant. Think of it as a water-powered survivalist with spines that do double duty. And also, it's kind of cool. So, we're talking about cacti, right? Like, those weird, spiky plants that look like they're trying to be a robot from a 90s cartoon. But they're not just pointy. They're also really good at holding water. Think of them as the gym teacher of the desert. Tough, resilient, and always ready to hydrate. But wait, we're not just talking about the big, fleshy part of the cactus. The real magic happens in the spines. Yeah, those spines aren't just for protection. They're like tiny, secret water storage tanks. Imagine if your hair could store a bottle of Gatorade and never spill a drop. So, what are spines? They're actually modified leaves. Like, the cactus evolved to make its leaves into these sharp, pointy things. Instead of photosynthesizing like regular leaves, they're doing something else, storing water. It's like turning your skin into a sponge, but way cooler. But here's the kicker, those spines aren't just holding water. They're also helping the cactus survive. They block the sun, cut down on evaporation, and even help the plant stay cool. It's like having a built-in sunscreen and air conditioning, all in one pointy package. So to recap, we're talking about how cacti use their spines, these modified leaves, to store water. It's not just about being spiky, it's about being smart, efficient, and really, really good at surviving in the desert. Next time you see a cactus, give it a mental high five. It's basically a water wizard in a prickly disguise. So, you might think cacti are just weird, spiky plants. But guess what? They're basically nature's version of a survivalist. Like, if you had to live in the desert and only had one trick, you'd probably go with storing water in your spines. It's like carrying a water bottle in your skeleton. Who needs a canteen when you've got a whole body full of it? And here's the kicker, those spines aren't just for looks. They're actually modified leaves. Yep, cacti used to have normal leaves, but they evolved into spines to cut down on water loss. It's like turning your skin into a wetsuit. You're not sweating, you're just basically wearing a suit made of dry ice. But wait, cacti aren't just storing water, they're storing it smartly. Their spines are like a bunch of tiny water balloons. When it rains, they fill up, and when it's dry, they slowly release it. It's like having a whole bunch of hidden water balloons in your body. You're basically a walking water park. And here's the real reason you should care. If you ever find yourself stranded in the desert, cacti are like the ultimate survival tool. They're not just weird plants, they're like nature's version of a hydration pack. You could probably drink their spines if you had the guts, or the patience. Either way, they're a pretty cool trick. So next time you see a cactus, remember, it's not just a decoration, it's a masterclass in survival. And if you ever need to store water in your spine, just ask the cactus. It's been doing it for millennia, and it's pretty good at it. So, cacti are like the ultimate gym bros of the plant world. They build their spines to store water, like a guy with a six-pack of water bottles strapped to his back. It's not just for looks, it's survival mode. Back in the day, when these guys were first evolving, they had to figure out how to live in a place that's basically a giant desert. No rain, no water, just heat and a lot of sun. So they started modifying their spines, turning them from just defense tools into water storage units. Like upgrading your armor to a hydration pack. It took millions of years of evolution. But now cacti can store water like a camel with a water bottle on each hump. They're basically the original survivalists. So next time you see a cactus, remember, those spines aren't just for looks. They're like a backpack made of spikes packed with water and ready for the desert. So, imagine your cactus is a superhero who's super thirsty. But instead of a water bottle, it's got these spines that act like tiny straws. They're not just for protection. They're like a water storage system. It's kinda like if your backpack had little tubes that could hold water instead of just being a bag. But wait, those spines aren't just holding water. They're actually made of a special material that's really good at holding onto moisture. It's like if your skin could store water instead of just sweating it out. Pretty cool, right? And here's the kicker, those spines are super thick and strong. They don't just hold water, they keep it safe from the sun and wind. It's like having a tiny water tower built into your skin. Who knew spines could be so useful? But let's be real. Cacti are not just about the spines. The real water storage is in the big, fat trunk. The spines are more like the sunglasses. They protect the real water stash. So next time you see a cactus, give it a little respect. It's got a whole water system going on. So in short, cactus spines are like the water storage spines of a superhero. They're not just there for looks, they're there for survival. And honestly, I'm pretty jealous of how good they are at storing water. Who needs a water bottle when you've got spines? Okay, so you're like, how do cacti even store water in their spines? Well, first off, you gotta imagine a cactus is basically a big, prickly water balloon. But instead of being made of rubber, it's made of tough, thick skin. And those spines? They're not just for looking cool, they're like the cactus's built-in water storage system. But wait, spines aren't just pony sticks. They're actually modified leaves. Yep, that's right, cacti used to have leaves, but they evolved into spines to cut down on water loss. So those spines are basically the cactus's way of saying, I'm not a leaf, I'm a survivalist. So, how do these spines actually store water? Well, they're made of a special kind of tissue that's really good at holding onto moisture. Think of them like tiny, invisible sponges. And since they're so close to the cactus's body, they can basically sip water straight from the main trunk. But here's the kicker, those spines are super dry and tough. They're like the cactus's personal water filters. When it rains, the cactus soaks up water, and then the spines act like little straws, pulling water from the trunk and storing it in their own little chambers. So, the cactus is basically a master of disguise. It looks like a dry, spiky plant, but underneath, it's got this whole water storage system. And the spines? They're just the cactus's way of saying, I'm not just a decoration, I'm a survival expert. Okay, so the cactus has this cool water storing system, but how does it actually get the water into those spines? Well, the spines aren't just for looks, they're like tiny pipes, but way more dramatic. Think of the spines as a bunch of tiny tubes that branch off from the main stem. When it rains, water gets absorbed through the skin of the cactus and flows into these tubes, like a big spaghetti noodle with lots of little twigs. These spines are super good at holding water because they're made of a tough, waxy material. It's like the cactus is wearing a waterproof jacket and the spines are the zippers that let the water in. But here's the twist. The water doesn't just sit in the spines forever. It actually travels down into the main body of the cactus where it gets stored in the fleshy parts, like a big water balloon waiting for the desert to dry up. So the spines are like the cactus's personal water hose system, fast, efficient, and way cooler than a garden hose. They're basically the cactus's version of a water delivery service. So here's the clever twist, cacti don't just store water in their spines. They actually use the spines to help them hold onto water. Like, imagine your hair is a water bottle, and your spines are the little caps that keep the water in. The spines are basically like the lid of a water bottle. They're super tough and they don't let the water escape. If you tried to drink from a cactus spine, you'd probably get a mouthful of sand, not water. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Stanley Quencher 40 tumbler. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now, and in the description below. Alright, back to it. But wait, the spines are also really good at keeping the cactus cool. They block the sun and help the cactus stay at a perfect temperature, so the water stays fresh and not squishy. So the spines are like the cactus's water bottle. The cactus is the water bottle, and the desert is the fridge. Everything is stored, everything is cool, and nobody is getting thirsty. In the end, the spines are just the cactus's way of saying, I'm not just a plant, I'm a water storage unit with a side of drama. So, the spines aren't just for looking cool. They're actually super tiny tubes that help the cactus hold onto water. It's like having a bunch of little straws sticking out, but instead of drinking soda, they're sipping water. But wait, how does the water even get into those spines? Well, the cactus has a special trick. It's got a bunch of little cells that act like sponges, soaking up every drop of water the desert throws its way. And then, when it rains, the cactus basically turns into a water balloon. All that water gets stored in its stem, and the spines help keep it from drying out by shielding the plant and reducing evaporation. So, the spines are like a combination of sunscreen and a tiny umbrella. They protect the cactus from the sun and also help it keep its water longer. It's like wearing a hat and a raincoat at the same time. And here's the kicker. Even though the spines are all over the place, they're still not the main water storage. The real hero is the stem. The spines are just the cactus's fashion statement and survival strategy. So imagine your spine is like a water balloon, but instead of being squishy, it's all solid and super strong. It's like if you took a water balloon and made it out of bricks. That's your cactus spine. But instead of holding water like a balloon, it's more like a giant sponge that's been turned into stone. It's got tiny little tubes inside, like tiny straws that let the water trickle in slowly. But here's the kicker, the spines aren't just for holding water. They're also like a built-in alarm system. If a thirsty animal tries to eat the cactus, it gets a little warning, like a tiny prick. So in the end, the spines are like a fancy, spiky water bottle that also doubles as a defense mechanism. Nature's way of saying, I've got this. So you're thinking, wait, cacti have spines, not leaves, so how do they store water? Well, here's the kicker, those spines are actually modified leaves. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a bad pun, but it's totally real. They evolved to be super thin and pointy so they can survive in the desert without getting eaten. But here's the real twist. Even though they look like they're made of bone or metal, those spines are actually made of the same stuff as the rest of the cactus. Yep, that's right. They're just a different shape, not a different material. It's like if your hair turned into a pair of sunglasses, but you still had the same texture. And guess what? Those spines aren't just for looking cool or keeping animals away. They also help the cactus collect and store water. When it rains, the spines catch the droplets and funnel them down to the roots. It's like a tiny umbrella made of pointy sticks. But wait, you're probably thinking, how do they even hold water if they're so thin? Well, the spines are packed with a special kind of tissue that's really good at holding onto moisture. It's like if your skin could stretch and hold water, but without getting soggy or slimy. So next time you see a cactus, remember, those spines aren't just for looks. They're part of the cactus's survival strategy. It's like a desert superhero with a whole team of spines working together to save the day. And I'm just here to explain it all in a way that makes you laugh and feel smart. Okay, so the first myth is that cacti store water in their spines. No, really, that's a thing people say. Like, I saw a cactus in the desert and it had spines, so it must be storing water in them. But here's the thing, spines are more like protection. They're not really made for holding water. They're like the cactus's exoskeleton, made of dead cells and stuff. Not the best place to keep a water bottle. So if you want to find the water storage, look for the fat parts, the stem, the trunk, the big, squishy middle. That's where the magic happens. The spines are just the cactus's defense squad. You can think of it like a water balloon. The cactus is the balloon and the spines are the string. The balloon holds the water. The string is just there for show. No water in the string. So next time someone says cacti store water in their spines, you can say, hey, that's like saying a snake stores water in its scales. Cool idea, but not quite right. So, here's another myth I thought was true, but turns out it's not. Like, I used to think cacti spines were just for protection, but they're actually doing more. And it's not even about being prickly. Wait, but what if the spines are like tiny water storage tanks? I mean, they're made of the same stuff as the cactus body, so maybe they're just extra space for holding water. Like a mini water balloon, but not squishy. But then why do they look so sharp? Maybe they're not for storing water, but for keeping the cactus cool. Like a fan, but with spines. So the spines help evaporate heat instead of trapping it. So maybe the spines are more about protection and cooling than storing water. But then, where do the cacti actually store their water? Oh, that's the real question. And I'm about to tell you where they do it. But first, let's get this myth out of the way. Spines aren't the water storage. So, the real storage is in the body. And I'm not going to lie, that's where the water is. It's kind of like the cactus is a giant water balloon, but with more spines. So, you're probably thinking, wait, cacti store water in their spines? Like, what even are spines? Well, they're basically just really skinny, pointy leaves. Think of them as the cactus's way of saying, don't touch me, I'm full of water. But here's the kicker, those spines are actually modified leaves. So, if you ever see a cactus with super long spines, you're looking at a plant that's basically a water balloon in a desert. It's like a superhero with a skin made of armor and a body made of water. Now, imagine you're in a desert. You're thirsty, you see a cactus, and you're like, should I touch this? But the cactus is basically saying, don't even think about it. I'm full of water, and I'm not about to let you drain me. So, in your everyday life, whenever you see a cactus in a garden or a desert, remember, those spines aren't just for looks. They're the cactus's secret weapon for storing water, like a tiny, spiky water bottle. So, next time you see a cactus, you can imagine it's just a plant that's mastered the art of being a water storage unit. And if you ever find one with extra long spines, you're looking at a cactus that's basically a walking water balloon. So in short, cactus spines are like the cactus's way of saying, I'm full of water, and I'm not going to let you take it. Just admire me from a distance. So I tried to grow a cactus in my apartment. I bought one, put it in a pot, and forgot about it. Turns out, cacti are like the ultimate lazy plant. They don't need sun, they don't need water, and they don't need me to care. They just sit there, doing their thing, and I'm left trying to remember where I put my keys. I watered it once a week, like I was told to, but the cactus just kept growing. It got taller, thicker, and more spiky. I thought I was doing it right, but clearly, I was just giving it a nap. It's like trying to teach a toddler to ride a bike and then getting confused when they start walking. One day, I woke up and the cactus had grown so much it was touching the ceiling. I tried to move it, but it was too heavy. I realized I had been watering it way too much. Turns out, cacti don't like being pampered. They want to be left alone, like a roommate who only comes over to borrow money. I stopped watering it, and it started to shrivel up. I thought I killed it, but then it began to look healthier. It was like watching a kid who is being spoiled and then finally learning to be independent. It was weird, but kind of impressive. Cacti are like emotional roller coasters, but with more spines. In the end, the cactus got so big it started to block the light. I had to move it out of the apartment. It's now in my backyard, next to the mailbox. I think it's happy there, and I'm happy I didn't kill it. Maybe I'm not a cactus expert, but I'm not totally hopeless. So, if you think cactus spines are just for looks, think again. These spines are like the cactus's built-in water storage system. They're not just pointy, they're packed. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Sandy Quencher 40 tumbler. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now, and in the description below. Alright, back to it. Imagine if your hair was made of straws. That's basically what these spines are. They're super efficient at holding on to every last drop of moisture. And here's the kicker, the spines are super strong. They don't just hold water, they hold it in a way that doesn't let it escape. It's like a water balloon with a lid. So, next time you see a cactus, think of it as a desert survivalist with a whole team of spines working overtime to keep it alive. Pretty cool, right? And remember, even though these spines are super strong, they're not built for fighting. They're built for surviving. And surviving in the desert is a real art form. Before you go, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments what you'd like us to make next. We read every single one. Thank you so much for watching.
Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.